What if God, by His incredible favor, was able to connect us with the right leaders in every country around the world? And what if we were able to catalyze a movement of reproducing churches in those nations that were united around the mission of Jesus? And what if those movements reproduced churches all around their countries and even crossed borders into neighboring countries, all the while reaching people who were far from God? Would that have a significant impact on our world for Jesus Christ? The answer is yes, and it is. And that's what we get to do. We help catalyze these movements of reproducing churches around the world.
We start by coming alongside the right indigenous leader, and then we help that leader to gather other like-minded leaders into a network of encouragement and accountability. And then we invest in those networks to provide them the resources, the tools, and the best practices they need to reproduce God's kingdom at every level. Reproducing disciples, reproducing leaders, and reproducing churches. And then we continue to work with those networks so that they can reproduce more networks regionally, forming a movement. And that movement will spread through the country and over the borders. And we call that Catalyst Community.
One of the things that actually has the greatest impact on these teams when we work with them is not the content or the teaching, but it's the fact that we've really pointed them to God. And it's this activation of faith. So a lot of times when we talk about planting churches, we're hindered by what we think we can do in our own power. But when we focus these guys on Ephesians 3:20, the fact that God can do abundantly more than we ask or imagine, we really start to see them dream these big dreams. They collaborate with others. They have this accountability and care structure that helps spur them along toward these goals of reproducing at every level, leaders, groups, churches. And those things in place, we start to see incredible results.
We believe that starting new churches is the New Testament model of spreading the gospel around the world. And that everywhere we're starting new churches, we see the full economy of heaven taking place. Salvation, baptism, wounds are being healed, marriages are being healed, and lives are being changed by the gospel. And we're especially encouraged in the countries we work in where evangelical believers are less than 2% of the total population. So we've seen some of our greatest success in starting new churches in country where it's very dangerous to be a Christian.
And through this system over the years, our team has seen the starting of 1,224 churches around the world in 24 different countries around the world. And we're currently working at various stages of development in 44 countries in the world. And this year alone, we've seen the start of 500 new churches. We're at the point now in this process where as our existing networks grow and mature and we start new networks in new countries, that we're seeing the number of new church starts double every year. So we've got other teams in development in different parts of the world, and that's really an ongoing part of what we do now is we reproduce teams. So this catalytic effort is then even multiplied at another level as we move forward. We've got 3 fully functional teams right now. We've got a team in sub-Saharan Africa. We've got a team in India that hits the area all around India, its neighboring countries. And we've got a team in the Philippines that we're actually taking to different Asian countries with us. And these guys have reproduced Catalyst communities in their countries and in their neighboring countries without us.
So when we tell our story, what we like to say is we're really telling the story of something great that God is doing. So when you hear this story, we'd like you to consider and pray, what does your role in this story look like? How can you play a part in this great story that God is telling around the world?